Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sarah Schaefer, and welcome to the Royal Saskatchewan Museum. I want to give a great big welcome to Burt Fox School, who has joined us here in person. So let's give them a round of applause. Thank you for coming. And I want to thank the students who brought offerings this morning of tobacco to our presenters. Thank you so much. Today is September 30th. It's Orange Shirt Day and the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. We're gathered today in person and virtually. People are joining us as well to honor and remember the children who never made it home and the survivors and their families of the residential school system. I'd like to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 4 territory, the ancestral and traditional lands of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, Ojibwe, and the home of the Métis. We acknowledge the land in an act of reconciliation and recognize those who have shared the land before us, those who continue to share the land, and those who will share the land in the future. We further acknowledge the harms and the mistakes of the past and commit to moving forward in partnership with Indigenous nations in the spirit of reconciliation. Our presentation today is brought to you by the Traditional Knowledge Keepers program here at the museum, supported by the Saskatchewan Teachers Federation. Without further ado, you don't want to listen to me too much more. I'm going to introduce our speakers. So our first speaker is life speaker and residential school survivor, Tim Poitras from Muscowpetung First Nation. He's going to speak with you students about his residential school experience. And musician and youth mentor Brad Bellegarde, aka InfoRed, shares his song I Remember, honoring his parents as residential school survivors. Thank you so much for joining us. We're honored for you to be here, and we thank you for sharing your stories today.
Good afternoon, students. I just wanted to start out by acknowledging Mrs. Musqua, Mrs. Ketchamunya and Miss Shepherd. The students offered me tobacco, and the museum had offered me tobacco. But before I go into my prayer, I just want to say that today's to remember all of our Indigenous students that did not live to see the benefit of education. Over 48% of our students that attended these industrial schools, residential schools, did not live to see the benefit of education. So help me pray in your own way, in your own mind, your own words to the Creator. There's strength in numbers. So as I start my prayer, I'm going to need your young people's help because you're our future. We need to work together in a good way. You could remain seated. Tishina Tanka, Wambliglishka Tonkashina, Hina Chimaka, Wahanchaka Hoxla, Hemelo Tonka, Pila Tonkashla, and Patoste, Imakia P, Na Oyate, Bird Fox Tonkashla, Le Unshika, Na Tiwai Tonkashla, Le Onchi, Gaka, Lala, Imakia P, Ne Moshum comes Tonkashla, Le Tiwai is Tonkashla, Le we chose ni woshki woshum pi uyishki. Mi chakin kashla we on piata yasapa waziata yaluta we on yo pate re itoka gati yaska. Imakia pi na oyate le tiwai kashle unshuka. I pray today, Grandfather, and ask that you open the hearts and minds of our young people. These are our future leaders. They're going to make decisions for the children yet to come. Help their minds grow and develop in a good, healthy way so we can create a better future for our generations yet to come. Take pity upon my nephew here, his home, his family, and all the staff, everybody involved here, our sponsors. Help them also so that we can make a change from today and be stronger, healthier, happier tomorrow. How makash go yasin mitak yasin. Yeah.
Your hand if you've been to Fort Qu'Appelle before. There you go. That's how you get everybody to throw their hands up. As a rapper, that's a good thing. So yeah, I have this album out. You can check it out on the YouTube. It's called Authentication. But this song's called Roses. Lifestyles of a native in a nation filled with hate. It's getting harder nowadays to put this food up on my plate, so I'm hungry. Steady on the grind to eat a beat. Write scriptures for the future, taking kids right off the street. Time has arrived to unify and stand together. In the midst of all this chaos, we'll survive another winter. Like we always do, history repeats. Let it echo through the valley. What I write is what I preach. So unique, my speech designed to teach and reach the youth a piece of you inside the minds of peeps so they can keep it true. Steady on a hustle with the bustle on the back. To the chicken dancers, what up? Bring the culture back. Satisfactory. Scripture from my faculty for family. Got a team, the realist. How we kill it ain't no fantasy. Sanity's demanding me to be the man I am. Man in me is telling me to be the man I can. Voiceover, pen to the paper until the end. Dark souls finding the light within what is said. This is for my people. Unification is needed. Stop that infighting. Now is the time for us to believe it. More than a little to fiddle with last riddles. Layering in a mountain to something brittle. Hoping that our spoken ain't broken beneath the stars. Speaking while we're reaching and seeking to peak the far. More than a little to fiddle with last riddles. It's okay to make some noise if you guys are feeling it, you know. Bert Fox. Speaking while we're reaching and seeking to peak afar. I came a long way from busting rhymes in your ear. After party rocking microphones to make you hear. Hours upon hours of me rapping in the mirror to be like, why you still do it though? Keeps my mind clear. And my feet planted, always grounded on this planet. Used to want the money, now it's knowledge, understand it. Overstand it, man, I'm smoother than the granite countertops up in the kitchen where some millionaires be stashing all the money, but I'm still right here. Kind of funny like that, cause I rhyme so clear. With love for my people. This is just a prequel. Soon we'll all be equal in the sequel. It ain't lethal. Moving about it when we shout it out together. Unity can make it better. You and me can make it better. But it's just a thought, no doubt. Let me pause for a moment while I cop that clout. Yeah, how you feeling? You feeling good? Yeah, digging it? Make some noise if you've been to Bird Fox School before. There you go. More than a little to fiddle with last riddles. Staring at a mountain to something brittle. Hoping that our spoken ain't broken beneath the stars. Speaking while we're reaching and seeking to peak afar. It takes more than a little to fiddle with last riddles. There you go. Thanks for letting me rap. I'm not going to take too much time here because I think the best thing about reconciliation for us, doesn't matter what generation, just as human beings, is getting the opportunity to use our ears and listen. Listen to stories. You guys listen to music? You know what? When you hear knowledge keepers speak, that's like music without a beat. You know, you gotta feel it. So for myself, I am a first-generation non-residential school survivor. That means everybody else in my family before me went to residential school. And I know a lot of you here right now, you have family members that are survivors, went to residential school. So when somebody asks if you're affected by residential school, yes, and it doesn't matter if you're non-Indigenous or Indigenous, because we have a day now to reflect and think about what our ancestors went through, what our relatives went through, and how do we make that better? You know, you just gotta listen, learn. Most important thing is identity. You know, I bet you a lot of you are my cousins, and probably his. I'm from Little Black Bear. Anybody here from Little Black Bear? Fowl Hills? Yeah, So we're all related, and that's what we say. We always say, Mitakuye, here, say it with me. Mitakuye Oyasin. That means all my relations, and that's all of us. So I'm going to do a song. It's a story. It's my parents went to Lebret. Make some noise if you know where Lebret is. And I asked them about their first day. Do you guys all remember your first day of school? Yeah? Was it like the best? Yeah, it was the best? We all have a similarity. We all have a common experience. That's going to school for the first time ever. But my parents and Tim as well, he can talk a little bit more about it. It was a lot different. So I'm thankful that I get to share this with you guys. Big ups to Bert Fox for making and winning the opportunity to come and listen to this guy. You know, he's what you call a true veteran MC. Yes. Dedicate this to all residential school survivors. Yeah. So this is how their day went. I was playing outside, just a little man, with the world in the palm of my hand. Little kid living life with innocence. I remember everything with images. Red truck and a man in a black robe. They told my mom, call him Father Joe. So we called him Father Joe. I saw a tear in my mother's eye. I let out a cry, but I didn't know why. Piled up in the back of a truck, it had a flatbed on it and the road was rough. My hands are shaking, feeling sick to my stomach. Where are they taking us? Who could have done it? My body is nervous. Why am I leaving? What is the purpose? What is the reason? Now I'm just a lost little kid looking for my mother in this life that I live all alone on a road that I'm traveling, and all I really want to do is just go home. I remember walking through the doors of the school. It was cool in September. They gave us clothes, put numbers on our sweater, said this'll be your name till you're home in December. Put powder on my head, threw me in the shower, then lined us up for bed. They took my braid away. They took my braid away.
When I see
Yeah.
taken away, my heart becomes displaced. With broken shadows, no time for faith. I'll never
Yeah, how you doing? You doing good?
see you
Feeling good?
again.
Yeah. So that was the first day. This is the first night.
Again. I know I'll never see you again.
Cold night, feeling shackled to my bed. I remember hearing whimpers from the kids, whispers across the room, talking things like, I hope we go home soon. And this is just the first night in my life. I think this is my worst night. Just a kid and I'm trying to get, and we all lie still. I close my eyes just to block out where I'm living with an image on a cloud that I'm sitting. I wanna fly away. I wanna fly away. Can't cry, can't sleep. They even took away your kid for trying to speak. I remember thinking that we'd never get to meet. Then my mind drifted off and fell asleep. First morning brought food I couldn't eat, and if we didn't, we'd get punished in our seat. This is the life that I had to live in residential school as a kid. Now it's 60 years later, looking back. Kind of funny how my mind remembers that. All the little things that I can't forget. But I'm thankful that I made it every step. And through the years, confronted so many fears, my feelings have been adjusted. I'm telling it to your ears. The elements of my tears are sentiments of the years that I spent with my peers. I remember.
When I see
On the count of three, I want you guys to all make some noise. Put your hands together for everyone that survived residential school and everybody that's healing right now. Yeah, so that's the story. You can check out the video on YouTube. Before I hand the microphone over to Tim, I want to tell you guys something. So everybody likes doing something that they really probably do on their own in the room, maybe you like drawing, maybe you like reading, maybe you like painting. Whatever it is, that's your passion. Don't let anybody take that away from you. When I started rapping, there was no rappers in Saskatchewan. There's nobody at all. All my friends that I had at the time are still my friends, and they supported me. That was my dream. And I used to think, man, I never want to be a 40-year-old rapper. I'm 40-something years old, and I'm a rapper still, so it's kind of like putting words in my mouth, you know. But that was my passion. I found something that was mine. So that's what I'm going to tell you guys. Find what you enjoy. Continue to do it. You own that, and it helps you with your identity. We need to know who we are, you know. We're not just little Indians from the reserve. We have a story, we have a history. So for me, I'm Lakota and Cree. Nehia. So be proud of who you are. Don't let nobody take that away from you. All right, thank you. Brad Bellegarde, a.k.a. InfoRed. Handing it over.
Thank you, Brad. I just was listening to Brad's talk here. For many of you students, your ancestors went to residential school. I'm fourth generation residential school survivor. I'm 61 years old. Many of you remember your first day of school. Mine was kind of a nightmare. I knew my grandmother said, "Get ready, you're going to school." But I had to pack my clothes, and I'm wondering, why do I need to be taking clothes to school? I didn't even get to wear my school clothes, my home clothes at school. I was given, I guess, residential school issued clothes. They took my clothes away, and by the time I left in the fall, they holding me in front of the nun, and she said, "I'm bringing my grandson into to boarding school." I'm 61 years old. The very first number I ever received in boarding school, it had little boys, 21. I was the 21st student to come in and register that fall. So you have to realize that in my case, my great-grandparents both went, my grandparents went, my parents went, so I'm fourth generation residential school survivor. Just 5 generations ago, our people, in my case, were living in a natural state here in the prairies, because it's only been colonized a little better than a couple hundred years. So as my grandmother's holding me, and the nun said, "Oh, bring him here, we're going to take good care of him." She grabs me by the hand, and I was kind of resistant to go to her. She quickly slapped me once my grandmother got out of sight and told me to quit crying, made my nose bleed, and there was about 100 junior boys in the playroom. So everybody was coming by, and they were picking on me, so that created a severe pecking order. Who knows what bullying is? How many of you have been bullied? So the thing when you're being bullied is it gives you a very low self-esteem. And when you've been impacted by historical trauma, being bullied and bullying somebody else, it's a historical trauma. If Brad and I are talking about something and you hear me talking about it, and if you repeat it, then you become part of that gossip. So all of our playrooms ran on lateral violence. Now today, most of our reservations run on lateral violence, where people are continuously putting each other down because they don't feel good about themselves. So I'm talking about bullying, and I'm talking about residential school, as they play hand in hand. I'm telling you stories that I want you to turn your lives around so that we can change and create a better tomorrow. So when I was talking about gossip, if you hear something said and choose not to participate, then you're not involved with that gossip. However, if you repeat what was said, then you're just as responsible. So with this, why I'm talking like that is a lot of the governments today say, okay, we all know what residential school has done to Indigenous people. Now get over it. So if we had long-term psychological impacts played onto us as kids, like I said, I'm 61 years old. Through catechism, Father Lacombe's ladder, we were taught that the devil sits on the left side of us. In fact, my father was left-handed. They tied his left arm up, and he had to do his penmanship with his right hand because he wasn't allowed to use his left. I'm 61 years old, and when I first lay down to go to sleep at night, I have to lay on my left side because we need to suppress the devil. What you need to realize is within each one of us, we are the good and we are also the bad. Based off of my atrocities I've been through, I want to make sure we have a better tomorrow and that this story never gets forgotten. Canada can't hide its history now. How many of you are taking residential school stuff in your studies? Any? And there's over 6,000 graves they're finding of children that didn't live to see the benefit of education. So why I'm promoting education is my late wife used to teach over at elementary at Bird Fox. So she was also one of the shakers and movers. In my language, when you say your partner for life, I meet her when she was 16. We became good friends. We talked. When she turned 20, I followed her home. I never left. She passes away in 2017. They made the mistake of feeding me, so I did yasin. Mitakiyasin. So when we use our language, that's a short prayer in itself. So what our theme today is, like, not only rap and music, we're going to want to talk about oral history. So I want to share some oral history with you, young people, but I need you to participate. Mitakiyasin. You're not speaking with pride. You need to feel it in your heart. Even if you're not Indian, you can still learn another language. Let's hear it one more time. Mitakiyasin. There you go. You're making me feel good because you're participating, you're learning, you're being involved. So there was a creation story. It's just as sacred to us as the Ten Commandments are to the Catholics. I went to a Catholic-run boarding school, and you couldn't use your left hand. And I didn't do well in school because I was dyslexic. Anybody know what dyslexia means? What does it mean?
Where you can't read, you read backwards.
There you go. So my numbers were backwards. It wasn't that I couldn't read, it's my spelling. On receive, I get the EI backwards on that. Numbers were backwards. So I've had my eardrums broke twice in boarding school because I couldn't get it right. It wasn't that I couldn't read, it's just that I seen letters backwards, so that's a learning disability. When I went to school 55 years ago, they didn't check us for dyslexia. So if somebody's a little different from you, being part of that bully is making some fun of somebody that doesn't read well. You could help them if you want. But to come back to my creation stories, our theme is traditional knowledge. And this oral history is just as valid to us as education, reading, and writing is to all the nations. But in our oral history, we had a chance to use our 2 ears, our 2 eyes. We have 1 mouth. Today's people use their 1 mouth more than their 2 eyes and 2 ears, so they speak more than they listen. So I'm just saying that because with this creation story, there were 2 warriors out on scouting for resources. And long ago, the people had belief in a way of life. They were full of prayer. In fact, the early Jesuits, when they heard it hit our shores, they were blown away with how the people would get up in the middle of the night and pray. They would pray first thing in the morning. If they were busy through their gardening or doing their hides, they'd stop and pray in the middle of the afternoon. They would pray in the evening. They prayed before they went out and gathered and hunted and took any resources, killed any animals. They prayed while they were harvesting the animals, cutting the meat up, drying the meat. They prayed while they were cooking. All the grandmothers were full of prayers, so they were praying that we'd enjoy this food. They prayed before they ate. So the early Jesuits, when they first came to our shores, they said, we can't teach these people prayer. They pray more than we do. So the bishops and the popes wrote back, no, we need to teach them a Christian prayer. So this oral story I'm going to tell you, it talks about 2 warriors, be me and Brad. One was of a better hunter, a more skilled fighter. I've seen some of you out using the arrows out there, so he was a better hunter, a more skilled fighter. And the other one was full of prayer. So in a distance, they seen the appearance of something or somebody coming. So I want you to practice this word and say it with conviction. Say it with authority. Say like you understand. Say pihinchila.
Pihinchila.
Ska.
Ska.
We.
We.
Pihinchila skawi.
Pihinchila skawe.
The grandfathers had an unabiding love for the Oyate. Say Oyate.
Oyate.
So that's the people. So the white buffalo calf woman, when she was coming, there was 2 warriors are out there, and one said, it's a woman. So say Wia. That means woman. Ikchewichasha means man. Ikchewichasha. Right word, but wrong. Ikchewichasha. That means man. So these two Chewik were out there, and that was pretty good.
That was awesome, yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. So I just wanted to say they were out looking for resources, and in the distance they seen an appearance of something or somebody coming. The one that was a better hunter, he was looking, and he said, "It's a wia." So he starts saying, "You guys repeat after me. Wia. Hemi ta." That means that woman will be mine. And his partners say, "Repeat after me. Hia, hia.
Here.
Hechushnion."
Hechishnion.
You women say hechushnie. That means, no, don't do that. Wachekia
Wachekia.
means pray. Wachekia. So he told his partner, no, don't do that. Wachekia, pray. So the other one started bragging, "Yeah, now we are hemita." He said, no, that woman will be mine. I'll have my way. So then as she came up to these two warriors, she said, "When I was walking towards you two men, there were two mindsets. One was full of prayer. I want you to go back to your tioshpai." Say tioshpai.
Tioshpai.
Means your band of people. The highest gift a man could give up was a daughter that was pure. In say ocheti shikoi oyate.
Ocheti Shikoi Oyate.
The people of the seven council fires, which are the Dakota, the Nakota, the Tetuans, the Lakota, their females wore chastity belts until they found a man worthy enough to take care of their daughter. That was the highest gift a man was blessed with, was a daughter. I say that because in modern times we have murdered and missing Indigenous women. We need to bring that respect back for our females. So then she told him, "Go build a circle of sage. I'm bringing the grandfathers have an unabiding love for the Oyate. He's going to bring some teachings." So he left, and she told the other one that wasn't thinking well, "You wanted to fight me. For what you want, I'll give to you. There's no need to fight me." So he got off his horse, saying, "Wakias."
Wakia.
Wakias.
Say it one more time. Wakia.
Wakia. That means the thunder beams. So no matter how great or how weak a man or woman is, they can instill the same level of fear. They create all equality amongst people. So the Wakias came, and as fast as she took her robe and covered them up, the Wakias were there that fast. And it was thundering and lightning. And when she opened up her robe again, they moved. There was nothing left of this man's flesh. It was just skeletal remains. Now remember, I said this creation story is just as sacred as the pipe is to the Ten Commandments. From that story, us men, we realized that we need to give our females a proper love and support. So I know with the Anishinaabe, they're run by clan mothers. The Cree were run by clan mothers. In fact, we got an AFN woman chief, first time ever, so we're starting to make strides the way we were. Can you imagine within the Dakota, when the U.S. Cavalry was chasing the Dakota, Lakota, Nakota people out of the Minnesota, and they said, "Take us to your leaders." In the middle of our Tioshpai, it was all grandmothers. They were the bosses. Could you imagine how much power we had as a nation, of people? So I'm saying these things because Christianity, we have to realize that the Catholic faith, they were burning their females from the 11 to the 1800s. Whereas in North America here, we had the proper love and the respect for our females. Does that make sense, you young people? Yeah. I'm telling you these things because we talked about bullying, we talked about being bullied, we talked about gossip, but we also talked about the creation story as how that pipe was brought to our people. You have to realize that the early Europeans wanted to wipe all this traditional knowledge out. They didn't succeed. I'm still here. I'm testament to say that we can go back and relearn our customs, our culture, our spirituality. My baby's 38 years old, graduated out of Fort Capel, played for the Marauders, played hockey there. And the oldest one is 42. They've never seen me other than normal. So I challenge you, young people. You're going to have all kinds of challenges. I challenge you, young people, to lead a life free of drugs and alcohol. If you lead a life free of drugs and alcohol, you're going to be making better choices. Don't pass judgment on our relatives that are using drugs and alcohol, because there's layers upon layers upon layers upon layers of historical trauma. Does that make sense? My dad was a severe alcoholic. It cost him his home, but he's my dad. I love him. In fact, in my dad's days, when Brad was talking about his parents, I couldn't tell my dad I loved him, but I did. He would come over grumpy about what's going on the reserve, and I'd say, "Hey, Dad, I love you." "Smarten up, boy, I'm not a woman." "No, I mean it as my dad, I love you." So with my boys and my grandsons, I broke that cycle. I kiss my boys. "I love you, son. I love you, grandson." So we were at one time when we had pride and we had much richness. It was easy for us to express love. That's why Brad and I are here. Anything you want to add to that, Brad?
Yeah, actually my experience was the same. Because of residential schools, I didn't get that. I didn't get hugged. I didn't hear "I love you." But they showed it in different ways. So don't be shy to share that with your mom, your auntie, your brother. Say, "Yeah, I love you." It's not that big of a deal, but it is awkward for his generation. But I'm happy to see that every time I'm at his house, the way that he shows affection. So yeah, to add to that, he was talking about being proud of who you are. We still have this knowledge. We can relearn who we are. It's in our DNA. It's in our blood. So you're never too old to start learning who you are. That's what I would say. Yeah. How much time do we got here?
5 minutes?
5 minutes? Should I wrap it up with a song?
Sure, let's wrap it up. Let's wrap it up with her. Bust it out.
All right.
Get up there and enjoy it, you guys. Otherwise, I'm pouting. I'm not coming back next year if you guys aren't going to get up and kick it out. Come on, let's go. I want to see us.
Okay, so you remember I said, find something that's yours, that's your passion. Something that you create. My passion is rap. If you don't follow through, you'll always ask yourself, what's the worst? What's the worst thing? You know, you didn't do it. Don't ever regret. So this is called What's the Worst. I want to thank Bert Fox. I want to thank everybody that's logged on, tuned in. Yeah. Been down in the dirt, fell down when it hurt, climbed out of the rubble, now no trouble with work. What's the worst? What's the worst? What's the worst? What's the worst that could happen? Feeling like $1,000,000 when I'm rapping. Got a body full of aches and pains from year after year after year against the grain. When I hear to year, focus. I don't know,
I'm excited like you guys.
I had to pause for a moment to rejuvenate. Clear my soul, get rid of my anger and hate. Now it's clear though. See the light at the end of the tunnel. Don't need to fumble the way you fear hope. Now I'm fearless. Feel this, listen to my melody. Everybody can hear this. Close your eyes, dream big and imagine. Tell me, what's the worst that can happen? Been down in the dirt, fell down when it hurt, climbed out of the rubble, now no trouble with work. Been down in the dirt, fell down when it hurt, climbed out of the rubble, now no trouble with work. What's the worst? What's the worst? What's the worst that can happen? What's the worst? What's the worst? What's the worst that can happen? What's the worst? What's the worst that can happen? Bert Fox, make some noise. Yep, this stress got me thinking back when I used to be analoging with Crack Attack. When I used to be analyzing my raps and the only thing that mattered was my name on the map. And now it's gone, moving on along my life path. Put my soul in a song so I can fight back. Whether or not you like that, I ain't going away, no need to write back. Ups and downs and ups, drinks and cups, drugs are tough, enough's enough. Call the bluff on the fake and show the world what you're made of. I got my heart full of heaven in. I'm new to my surroundings, so let me settle in. Kick back, tell stories, start laughing. What's the worst that could happen? Bert Fox, I want to thank you guys. I want to thank the Royal Sask Museum. Let's make some noise for Malcolm Tim here.
Love you guys. You're awesome.
So now we're all gonna say thanks to each other in my language, Nakota. So say after me, Wopina, Tonka. Wapina Tonka. Oh, thank you. Let's make some noise for the headliner of the day.
Goodbye to you. Thanks so much to Tim and Brad for joining us for another great year for Orange Shirt Day and the Traditional Knowledge Keepers program. And thanks to Bert Fox. Thanks. Bye.